What's up everyone, Don here, and there was one more Turrican game released on the Super Nintendo, and a pretty late release at that. It is Super Turrican 2, released in 1995. The location: a small star system floating in the endless spiral arms of a black hole. Little do the inhabitants of the planet know about the menacing hordes of the Machine. Fleeing through the outer regions of the known galaxy, the villain found his next victims. And this fanfare is used in every single Turrican game, even the first one. Civilizations were destroyed in an instant, and oh wow, damn it, I was talking too much. Just a few tiny cries for help escaped the boundaries of the system. The U.S.S. Avalon, flagship of the United Freedom Forces. The heroes of many rescued souls are restlessly waiting for the final encounter with their longtime arch-enemy. As the sirens yell across the hangar, 3 ships blast off into the unknown. Entering the black hole, the men face their final challenge. Very impressive action platformer for the time, but as a Turrican game, it's kinda lacking something. Seconds later, only one of the ships escaped the mighty powers of the black hole. Yay, lone survivor situation, just like the original Turrican 2. Badly damaged and burning, your shipwreck hurtles towards the devastated Doom world. Equipped with your Turrican assault suit, you jump into the action against an army of darkness.
Arm your assault suit. Shred chop.
So Turrican 2 on the Super Nintendo, or Super Turrican 2, not to be confused with The Final Fight, which was on the Amiga. Even though this technically should be called The Final Fight since this is the final game in the series. But whatever. This game is a culmination of all the games that were released previously, so you got a lot of things like the freeze beam from Super Turrican, as well as your grapple hook from Mega Turrican. But the grapple hook unfortunately doesn't work quite the same as it did in Mega. Instead of aiming your arm 360 degrees around you, Brain can only aim his arm straight up or diagonally ahead and use the grapple hook. If it's even Bren to begin with. Again, it's like the Super Nintendo games don't have a clear name for this guy. It's always Turrican Guy or something. Or hell, maybe it's Turrican Gal in this game because the voice I'm hearing is feminine.
Laser.
Yeah, I'm playing as a girl. Or maybe this is an Iron Man case and the voice of the AI is feminine, I don't know. But what distinguishes Super Turrican 2 apart from the rest of the series are, here they are, vehicle stages. Every 2 or 3 stages you'll come across a vehicle stage, and they vary from pretty simple like this one to what the hell am I doing like 3-3 or stage 4-1. But for right now I just have to worry about collecting the gemstones and jumping across radioactive barrels. No wonder why this place is fucked up, they can't even clean up their nuclear waste. Now you have these flying droid enemies that will swoop down at you. You can either jump on them or shoot them with the missiles, but they are very spongy, so I just jump on top of these guys. And that's about it. Again, this section is very stupidly simple. I honestly don't even know why I'm commentating over this. But there is something about the music in this game that is very different from the other Turrican games, in that it's more militaristic sounding. Hell, I believe some of the soundboard used in this game was later used in Rogue Squadron. And if that was the case, then it's pretty impressive for a Super Nintendo game. But with the moodier, drum-based sound hardware, it is definitely nowhere near as catchy as the other games. And definitely not as catchy as Super Turrican, that's for sure. But there is one song that sticks out like a sore thumb, and we'll be getting to that closer to the end of the part. But for right now, here's the first mini-boss of the game, which is something that already trumps Super Turrican in that regard. More bosses! You have to watch out for the wall shrapnel he shoots at you, and depending on where he's at on screen, he'll either shoot the stuff above your head or right at you, so you have to anticipate that. You also have your signature Morph Ball ability, the wheel that was in the other Turrican games. You can transform into that and become invincible for as long as you have energy within that green meter below your health bar.
Stage 1. Missile.
Looks like I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life. It's not missile, it's missile! Ah! This stage is where you have to use your bionic arm a bit more, or I call it the grapple hook, but it's really called the bionic arm. Isn't that the name of the bionic commando move too? Like, what the hell? Ah, this guy's a thief. Anyway, we have to scale the ruined buildings of Arrakis or Tatooine, or insert any desert planet from a famous sci-fi film ever made. What is this place? And more importantly, how was the civilization advanced enough to even build a city like this in the desert? My best guess is that this place wasn't always a desert and that something Mad Max happened off screen. I don't know. And hell, even Mad Max didn't explain how the apocalypse happened. It just happened. But anyway, your signature shots are back, your spread shot, which is good for general purpose use, your laser, which is a bit weaker in this game compared to the other Turrican games, and then you have the rebound, which does this. It's a weird weapon, but it's actually pretty good for situations like this. And last but not least, this is a weapon introduced in Super Turrican 2 only, and that is the flamethrower. It's a flamethrower. Yeah. No, seriously, it is exactly what it is, a flamethrower that shoots out very short-range bursts of fire. It's decent at close range. In fact, I think I get the flamethrower right here, so I'm gonna demonstrate it.
Flamethrower activated.
The voice samples in the Turrican games on the Super Nintendo have always been good, so that's an A+ in that department. And as for the flamethrower itself, it's not even really a B-tier weapon, it's more like a C or D. Ugh. The thing fires in short bursts, and you have to wait for it to charge up a little bit before you fire it again. And it's also short range, so it kinda sucks in that department. Give me back my spread shot. Weak shots individually, but it's still a spread shot. The grappling arm in this game is so much fun because you can pretty much grab onto anything that's not electrified. It still doesn't have the free-flowing movement of Mega Turrican, but it comes close. I think this is my favorite soundtrack in the game. Well, outside of the 2 levels from now, that song is just hilarious. But this is, without a doubt, I think my favorite soundtrack in the game. Especially the part where the music climaxes. And for a Super Nintendo game, this soundtrack is not bad. It's very technically sound, actually. It's just the fact that, compared to the other games, it's more depressing sounding and kind of drab. Yeah. But then again, the overall plot in this game, because there's actually a plot that's going in between the gameplay sections themselves, is kind of darker compared to Super and Mega Turrican. Like, this city itself, it's wiped out. Nobody's left living. Everybody's dead. And I'm pretty sure the same can be said for every inhabitant on this planet. All that's left are freaky rock aliens and droids. Droids that coincidentally scream like R2-D2. In fact, I'll probably do it in the next part, but I'll read out the manual because the manual story is kind of bizarre. It's told in such a way that the events of the previous game didn't really happen, or they did happen, but it was null and void because the the enemy is just too powerful, I guess. Or this could be the case that, you know, this takes place in a different timeline. Or takes place thousands of years after the previous game. I'm not sure how the timeline works in this series. It's like the beginning of Mega Turrican is said eons have passed since the last battle, but eons means billions of years, and there's no way that the character would be a lot. Like, what is an eon? They just misuse the word eon. In all honesty, it should be like, this guy went into hibernation for 50 or so years, and now he's back for vengeance. Kind of like Ripley from Aliens. Or you could go the whole Planet of the Apes route, where space-time is actually slower in space as opposed to on Earth, so, you know, thousands of years could pass on Earth, but the guy is still the same age. Now that I think about it, Interstellar did that whole time dilation thing too, where space-time is slower. I need to watch that movie again. I only seen it twice since it released.
Danger.
Alright, here's the second mini-boss, which is I don't know what this thing is. A giant crab slash arachnoid type creature that looks like a heart? The enemy designs are a bit out there. But for the first phase of the fight, you have to knock off the creature's bottom limbs. This is where I like to use my smart bombs to quicken the process. And don't be afraid to use the morph ball either. After each screen transition, the energy will come back. Which is fair, the previous console games were a bit iffy on that. Like, sometimes when you screen transition, the energy comes back, and other times it didn't. And that was my air condition kicking on. Sorry about that. But in this game, it's more consistent on whether you get energy back, which is during screen transitions, like I said.
Stage spread shot activated.
Stage spread shot activated? Oh man, this part's gonna be fucking awesome. Except it's not. We're running away from toxic gas, and that's the entirety of stage 1-3. Granted, it is a bit short, but still. I do like the background music though. It's very frantic, and it sounds a lot like Rogue Squadron, like I said earlier. Now, the gas doesn't kill you in one hit, but it does constantly drain your health bar, and it ignores iframes. So you just need to run, jump, and climb. No! T. I don't get why there's a T as the screen transition, but it's pretty cool. It's like the developers want to let you know that you're playing a Turrican game. But there are other games that start with a T, guys, like Turok. I could be playing a Turok game. Anyway, here's the funniest soundtrack in the whole entire game.
Stage 1-4.
Dude, this song is legendary. It is so cheesy and 80s wonderfulness, I can't help but not hate it. And the thing is, it's 80s wonderfulness on the Super Nintendo. In 1995, no less. Oh man, Chris Hulsbeck, you're a legend in the industry. This section can be a bit tricky because the sandworms that you need to jump on, you need to get a gauge on when they're about to appear. And also be careful of the sandworms that you're standing on because they will eventually dive down below the bottom of the screen. And if you go down there too, that's an instant death. It's a considerable difficulty curve, but this stage is not that bad. I'm out! Sandworm just dives out of frame. He wants nothing to do with this game.
Boss approaching.
That's one way of doing it, you suicidal maniac. But the main boss of stage 1 is the giant sandworm. And he's a pretty tricky first boss too. Now you can stand on the bottom and top malls of the creature's mouth, but it's also rotating too, so you have to orient yourself in a way that you don't fall in between the sides of the creature's mouth. Otherwise you fall into a bottomless pit and die. The main target of this sandworm is the tongue, but the tongue also deals damage to you. The reason why this boss fight is wonky is because, well, everything is moving at the same time. The mouth, the tongue, you, trying to keep away from the bottomless pit is kind of a mess. And you also have acid falling from the ceilings or the creature's mouth. It's just, what is happening? There's no rest for the wicked, that's for sure. But yeah, the sandworm, he's a very intimidating creature of a beast of a first boss. Pretty impressive sprite scaling. Yeah, this is mode 7. Yeah, I thought it was some other technique, but no, this is definitely mode 7. T, which you can barely see. The defeated monster vanishes in the dunes, only to leave Turrican in the hands of evil. So the guy's name is Turrican. Guarded by enemy soldiers, you're brought to one of the threatening war stations orbiting the planet. The fight continues in the next part. What? I mean, amidst the screaming sirens after you manage to escape to the hull of the station.
On your spread shot.
Arm my spread shot, okay. It doesn't even help that I just run into the spread shot automatically. Anyway, I'll see you in part 2 of Super Turrican 2 where we fight on the hull of a spaceship. With trippy backgrounds where the stars further away in the distance are somehow scrolling and the planet's not scrolling. This music is fucking weird.